Despite being a kids show, Digimon Adventure has a lot of dark moments. And it got me thinking, what is the darkest moment from each Digidestined in Digimon Adventure? Well, let's answer that question in this video, shall we? Hello everybody, my name is Ben, and for today's video I thought it would be fun to look at every Digidestined from the OG Digimon Adventure continuity and discuss what I consider to be the darkest moment from each Digidestined. For some characters this will be easier than others. Certain Digidestined don't seem to have a dark side, while others struggle with the darkness on a regular basis. But regardless, I thought this would make for a fun, unique video to discuss. So with all that out of the way, let's get started. This is the darkest moment from every Digidestined from the original Digimon Adventure continuity. So let's get started with our original goggle-wearing protagonist, Tai. Tai has had his fair share of dark moments in Digimon Adventure, but if you're as familiar with the series as I am, I think we already know the answer to what is Tai's darkest moment in Digimon Adventure. Season 1, Episode 16, The Arrival of Skull Greymon. In the previous episode, Tai has managed to get his hands on the Crest of Courage. He's the first Digidestined in the team to get his crest, and it goes completely to his head. Believing that he is now the strongest, and it's his responsibility, and in turn Agumon's responsibility, to be ready for the next battle against Etemon. Agumon needs to be at his strongest, so while Etemon provides the danger, Tai provides the food. Because of all the food Agumon has eaten, he's not feeling all that great right now, and Tai simply doesn't care. He just wants Agumon to be at his strongest. You know, maybe that's not the right way of saying it. Despite how much of a douche Tai is being in this episode, he's not entirely wrong with having the mindset of wanting to make sure Agumon is at full strength. He's the only one with the crest at this point, meaning that Agumon is theoretically the only Digimon capable of digivolving to the ultimate level. Unfortunately, he went about it the completely wrong way. Anyway, everyone gets trapped by Etemon, leaving just Agumon to fight another Greymon. Agumon digivolves, the two get into a fight, and Tai is constantly pushing Greymon to digivolve to the ultimate level. He is trying to force the digivolution. Any Digimon fan will tell you that you should never try to force a digivolution, because it will always go wrong. Fast forwarding later in the episode, the gang is able to get themselves free, Joe has managed to find his crest, and Garurumon and Birdramon has joined the fight. It is then when Tai makes the biggest mistake. You know, I really wish I could remember my initial reaction to seeing Skull Greymon. This is a terrifying looking creature. Skull Greymon goes on a rampage, not only fighting the other Greymon, not only destroying the whole arena around it, but also attacking his friends. To be honest, I'm not even sure if anyone could have done anything to stop Skull Greymon here. The only reason why Skull Greymon stopped being a threat is because it used up all its energy and de-digivolved back to Koromon. If that didn't have happened, we're either looking at a scenario where Skull Greymon either wiped out the kids there and then, or just simply ran off to go on a rampage. Fortunately, instead of one of those two scenarios happening, Skull Greymon, as I said, runs out of energy, reverts back to Koromon. His voice sounds incredibly different from episode 1, and it is here where Tai completely confesses and admits that it's his fault. He was selfish, he was rude, and he overdid it. On the bright side, at least he realised that. Matt is probably one of the darkest Digidestined out of all of Digimon Adventure. He and Tai are known for having a lot of arguments with one another. We also have an entire episode dedicated to Matt almost being consumed by darkness. You know, even as a kid, after I watched Adventure 2, whenever I rewatched this scene, I basically theorized that Matt was on the verge of entering the Dark Ocean. I mean, it's pretty much a similar setting to what Kari and Ken was going through in Adventure 2, right? When they ended up in the Dark Ocean. I'm sure that wasn't the intention with this scene, because obviously the Dark Ocean probably wasn't a thing at this point, but it's still fun to theorize about. In my mind, my theory is that Matt came real close to entering the Dark Ocean. Anyway, let's move on from this scene, because despite what's in it, I don't think this is Matt's darkest moment. In episode 44, Trash Day, partially thanks to the manipulation and conversation he has with Cherrymon, Matt confronts the group. You see, in the previous episode, TK was taken by Puppetmon, and Matt wasn't taking it well. He argues with Tai, he yells at Sora and Biyomon, he's unable to get Gabumon to warp digivolve. Matt crumbles, he completely falls apart in this episode. And then at the end of the episode, TK was able to get out all on his own. He didn't need his brother, and it was then when Matt decided to take a walk. He mopes around a bit, he discussed with Gabumon how he feels like he doesn't really belong with the team. He doesn't feel like he's grown, he feels like he's the only one that hasn't changed since this whole adventure started. And he now realizes that even TK, his own little brother, doesn't need him. He believes no one needs him, no one wants him. Obviously we know that's not true, and Gabumon tries his best to snap him out of this, but with the help of Cherrymon, things just go from bad to worse. In previous episodes, when Matt and Tai would have their fights, Gabumon would be usually trying to break it up. He would be trying to stop Matt from fighting his friends. This time around, that isn't the case. To basically prove to Matt that he will always have a friend by his side, Gabumon warp digivolves and attacks Agumon. And sure, while Gabumon is doing this willingly, he's not being forced to do it. At the same time, he's only doing it because Matt wants to do this. Matt becomes very confused in these episodes. He really doesn't know exactly what he wants, and he allows Cherrymon to just mess with his head and make him think that he wants to fight Tai. We definitely can't blame Cherrymon entirely, however. All these feelings and emotions that Matt has during these episodes have been there for a long time. Cherrymon was just able to allow the worst parts of Matt to come out and take over. So yeah, this is what I believe to be Matt's darkest moment in Digimon Adventure. Matt and Tai fight out, Matt insults and berates the rest of the team, and he basically questions the whole idea of them being the Digidestined. Next up we have Sora, our first problematic character for a video like this, because Sora isn't really known for having a lot of dark moments in the series. There are 3 candidates for this video, however. 2 of them are from Adventure 1, one of them being during the episodes when the kids are separated dealing with Digimon, and Sora chooses to isolate herself from the rest of the group even after everyone else has come together. And we learn in episode 26, Sora's Crest of Love, that the reason why she's been doing this is because she believes that she has no love to give to anyone. This is mainly due to her relationship with her mum being pretty bad. We get a flashback that shows the context as to exactly what's going on between Sora and her mum. The other candidate from Adventure 1 is the Crest of Friendship, episode 51. Sora and TK are out looking for Matt, Joe and Mimi to bring them back to the others to help fight Paimon. Sora is already expressing doubt that she'll be able to find the others, but then when she gets separated from TK, she ends up in a similar situation that Matt was in earlier in the same episode. All by herself, she has darkness looming all around her. She believes that she won't be strong enough to help the others. Just like what I theorized earlier of Matt, Sora was probably not far from entering the Dark Ocean here. The only other dark scene that I can think of regarding Sora was actually during the last Evolution film. Sora doesn't do much in this movie, she spends all of it by herself. She doesn't even interact with the other characters on screen. In this movie it is implied that when a ring of light appears around your Digivice, your time with your Digimon partner is coming to an end. Once those lights all go out, that's it, it's over. And while Tai and Matt are dealing with this throughout the movie, we later learn that Sora's ring of light has already started to go out. She isolates herself in her room, she doesn't even have a light on, she's just sitting there with Biyomon. Towards the end of the film, we see that her Digivice has already gone out. The main reason why I think this is a contender for her darkest moment is again the fact that she chooses to just isolate herself. There's no lights on in her room, she's just there with Biyomon and she refuses to help the others. So those are the 3 contenders for Sora's darkest moments. Still, what is Sora's darkest moment? I would say it's from Adventure 1, Sora's Crest of Love, episode 26. When Sora learns that her crest is the Crest of Love, like I said earlier, she believes that she doesn't deserve it. She doesn't have any love to give because of her relationship with her mum being really bad at this point. She doesn't reunite with the group, and who knows, if Tai, Matt and TK didn't catch up to her during episode 26, who to say that Sora would have rejoined the group there and then? If the others didn't catch up to her when they did, Sora might have potentially have still gone solo for a little while. I guess that can make for an interesting what if scenario, but seriously, I think Sora at first had no plans of rejoining the group at this point. Now, if you want to talk about a character that really doesn't have any major dark moments or scenes in the series, at first glance, Izzy is pretty much impossible to be in a video like this. He doesn't have a dark side. There's no dark moments with him, and we should all be grateful for that. Can you imagine if Izzy became the Digimon Emperor? I don't think anyone would have been able to defeat him. Anyway, if I haven't made it clear, Izzy is one of the characters that really doesn't have a dark moment or scene throughout Digimon Adventure, so this one I'm really reaching just for the sake of including him in this video. There are 2 episodes in Adventure 1 that are as close as I can get to a dark scene / moment with Izzy. One was episode 24, No Questions Please, where Izzy sacrifices his curiosity to Vadermon, and in turn he becomes pretty selfish and treats Tentomon like shit to the point where he de-digivolves all the way back to his baby form. However, even though it's shorter, episode 10, A Clue from the Digipast, Izzy comes across a temple with a huge black gear in it, with a bunch of different symbols on the wall that he's seen before. He sits down, turns on his laptop, and starts mashing away to try and figure out what these symbols mean. Tentomon suggests that they should go look for the others, but Izzy thinks it's more important to focus on his research. But then Mimi and Palmon show up. Izzy doesn't really acknowledge them all that much, and then it is implied that they've been sitting there for hours just watching Izzy on his laptop, ignoring all three characters whenever they try to speak to him, until Mimi reaches a breaking point and she runs off with Tentomon chasing after her, resulting in them basically getting stuck in a maze. If Izzy didn't ignore his friends, this wouldn't have happened. That's his darkest moment. So evil, Izzy. Moving on to our next character, we have Mimi. She's another character who doesn't really have many dark moments or scenes throughout the series. However, there is one episode that definitely highlights her more selfish side that she had in early episodes of Adventure 1. Although to be fair, with the knowledge she had at the time, I don't entirely blame her for the actions that she took in this episode. Princess Karaoke, episode 25. Mimi comes across a castle. The Gekomon and Otamon wishes to have her sing to wake up Shogun Gekomon. After a few failed attempts, Mimi quickly realized that these Digimon are willing to do whatever she wants, so she decides to take advantage of that. She quickly becomes the princess of the castle, ruling over the Digimon like the Digimon Empress. Okay, not as far as the Digimon Emperor, but still kind of funny to think about, right? Anyway, the point is, Mimi's in charge. Like I said, I don't entirely blame her for her actions here. At this point, she has no idea if she's ever going to make it back home. The team fell apart, it was just her and Palmon for a while, so she decides to make the best of it when she's given the opportunity to live like a princess. Things just get worse though when Tai and Joe find her here. They try to convince Mimi to drop the whole princess act and rejoin the group, but Mimi quickly shuts that down. Palmon even admits that Mimi has started to cross the line. Don't know why it took her so long to realise that. Seriously, they don't explicitly point out how long they've been at the castle, but I want to say Mimi and Palmon have been at this castle with her ruling over the other Digimon for at least a few months, right? She agrees to help Tai and Joe to try and get a recording of Mimi singing to wake up Shogun Gekomon. That quickly goes south, and Mimi throws everyone, including Palmon, in a prison cell. One nightmare and a little chat with Sora later, Mimi quickly realizes how selfish she's been. The episode has a happy ending. Mimi apologizes, sings to wake up Shogun Gekomon. Turns out he's a prick, so they have to teach him a lesson, and everything's back to normal. Seriously though, imagine if Mimi actually did become the Digimon Empress. Teamed up with Izzy, who becomes the new Digimon Emperor. Okay, I'm really entering fanfiction territory here, we should move on. If I was making a video like this over a decade ago, I would say it would literally be impossible to include Joe in this video. There's no dark moments with Joe. Literally not a single one. Despite my personal opinion on it, there is Digimon Tri. It technically started in the first film, but in the second Digimon Tri film, Determination, Joe is actively not getting involved with anything Digimon related with the rest of the team. Of all characters they decided to give this arc to, I will never understand why they gave it to Joe. An arc like this would have made more sense with Mimi, or maybe Kari or TK. But no, instead, Joe is given an arc where basically he doesn't want anything to do with Digimon. Or more accurately, he doesn't understand why it always has to be them that has to drop their personal lives to get involved with another Digimon adventure. Why does it always have to be these guys? Why does it always have to be us that has to do this? He ignores the group on multiple occasions. Even when it isn't an evil Digimon that they've got to fight, Joe just doesn't get involved. What makes it worse is that Gomamon is sitting in the room with him, and we see that he's trying his best to kind of be like on the middle ground for this. On the one hand, he wants to be there for Joe, but on the other hand, he still wants to help his friends, his fellow Digimon. And Joe is basically forcing Gomamon to choose either Joe or the rest of the team. The basic idea of the arc I can understand, but why they gave it to Joe, again, I'll never understand that part. He's good old reliable Joe. This is not the same Joe we saw in Adventure 1 and Adventure 2. And I guess better late than never, it took Gomamon basically putting his life on the line, not even being able to Digivolve, yet still joining in a fight, with a Mega Digimon of all things, and Kari having to have a good talk with him to help him both realize and understand that no matter what happens, the most important thing is that Gomamon will always be by Joe's side. Again, if it was my choice, if I had to give this arc to a character from the Digidestined, I would have given it to Mimi, or possibly even Kari or TK could have worked with this type of story idea. Our next character for this video is TK. TK's darkest and probably one of his most badass moments in Adventure 2 has to be from episode 19, An Old Enemy Returns. Ken is trying to get his hands on a certain Digimon to add to his abomination of a Digimon creation, Chimeramon. TK and Cody are able to get onto Ken's floating fortress and are able to find a bunch of Digimon who are imprisoned, with the plan being to set them free. However, that changes for TK when he sees the Digimon that Ken has been looking for, Devimon. I don't know if it's ever officially confirmed if this is meant to be the original Devimon from Adventure 1. I think it makes more sense for it to be the same Devimon from Adventure 1. It definitely has a bit more of an impact with it being the same one. Either way, when TK sees him, he remembers the events of Adventure 1, almost losing Angemon to Devimon once before, and this is where TK snaps. Similar to what happens later on with Black or Greymon, TK has just flipped a switch and is now angry, annoyed, and decides to take matters into his own hands, quite literally. He confronts Ken head on, insulting him, belittling him, making fun of him, and when Ken resorts to violence, TK's response? Now is a time to fight, and TK is going all in. This is a great scene, I love this so much. Patamon and Wormmon as an epic stare contest, while TK is just constantly trying to throw punches left and right to Ken. And it's worth pointing out too, TK was winning this fight. The only reason why the fight came to a close was because of Chimeramon showing up and TK choosing to help the others fight Chimeramon and escape the fortress. I also have to give a shout out to what TK says to Ken just before he flies off with Pegasusmon. I'm trying my best to be careful with copyright, but screw it, I'm going to play the audio for this one.
Hey Ken, remind me where we left off the next time I'm pummeling you into oblivion.
We should have seen more of this side of TK throughout the series, and I also think we should have seen this side of TK having more of an impact on the rest of the group. Patamon, Davis, Cody, Kari, Yoli, Matt. These characters especially should have been interacting with TK while he goes through this like angry arc of him. Focusing on the topic of this video, this has to be TK's darkest, yet also one of his best moments in Adventure 2, and Adventure as a whole. It's fantastic stuff. I just wish we got to see more of this side of TK. Okay, Kari, it's your turn. What's your darkest moment in Digimon Adventure? I guess the lazy answer could be just me picking episode 13, his master's choice from Adventure 2, and just calling it a day. What about the next episode where the Dark Ocean enters Kari's life? Episode 31, Opposites Attract. Kari, Yoli and Ken ends up in the Dark Ocean again. They're separated from the rest of the group, they have no way of contacting them, and Kari and Ken are understandably disturbed and very nervous when they realise that they've entered the Dark Ocean again. Kari slaps Yoli, that's pretty funny. Despite everything Ken has been through, during this episode he can at least still get Wormmon to Digivolve and fight. Kari on the other hand, she completely shuts down. It's only thanks to Yoli slapping the hell out of Kari and telling Kari that no matter what happens, she will be there to fight by her side. It's kind of a mixture between what happened to Matt and Sora back in season 1. Kari is breaking down, not believing in herself, thinking she's not strong enough or good enough. And it's thanks to the friends around her that helps her realise that no, she does have the strength to do this. She is capable of fighting back. There is another moment which I think could be a contender for Kari's darkest, well, moment. In the 5th Digimon Tri-film, Coexistence. So Tai has potentially fallen to his death. Kari takes it well. And by well I mean absolutely not well at all. I can't say for certain what happens to Kari here. I want to say her general negative emotions manifesting in the digital world resulting in what happens to her. Or hey, fuck it, let's say it's the Dark Ocean or a mixture of the two. Negative emotions, her connection to the Dark Ocean, coming together to corrupt and break down Kari. These negative emotions affect not only her, but her Digimon. causing poor Gatomon to forcibly digivolve into Ophanimon. In this continuity, it's treated as a dark digivolution, and then to make matters worse, Ophanimon, I guess you would say dark DNA digivolved, with Mekumon forming this thing. Yeah, that doesn't look good at all, does it? Oh my. Not only now do the Digidestined have to deal with this, they have now lost their leader, and in the final tri-film, Future, Kari spends a significant portion of it like this, with TK taking care of her. At least it gives us this nice little moment with these two characters, but poor Kari, man, she can't catch a break. While she herself doesn't necessarily have a major dark scene or moment, she and Gatomon had to witness Wizardmon dying right in front of them. While in the digital world, she gets sick. She's transported to the Dark Ocean. She ends up in the Dark Ocean again later on. And on multiple occasions, she's taken over by another entity, using her body and her voice to communicate with the other Digidestined. It's a miracle that Kari hasn't had more dark scenes herself, to be honest, after everything she's been through. To wrap up Kari's segment in this video, I'm going to go with what happens to her during Digimon Tri. I think this is the #1 pick for her. My poor girl doesn't deserve this. She deserves better, damn it. At first for Davis, I had an entire comedic segment planned for him because I was completely confident that there was no dark moments with him whatsoever. He is probably the most positive character in all of Digimon Adventure. But then I remembered a scene from one of the films. And while it's not the biggest scene, it's definitely not the darkest scene we've ever seen in Digimon Adventure. For Davis specifically, I think it stands out. So, in the Digimon 02 film, where the title is so long I can't be asked to say it all and I'm just going to call it the movie that has Willis in it. In the original version of this film, after Davis learns about Willis's backstory with Terriermon and Cocomon, Davis breaks down. Because unfortunately the situation is, we don't fight Cocomon and the OG Digidestined are trapped forever, or we kill Cocomon in order to free the original Digidestined. That's the conundrum Davis is in right now. And yeah, we see him break down into tears. He talks about how he doesn't think he would ever be able to do something like this if it was Vmon who went evil or Dark Digivolved. Davis wouldn't have it in him to take down Vmon, and he's heartbroken just even thinking about the fact that Willis has to make this choice. As brief as it is, I think I actually have a legitimate dark moment for Davis in this video. Contemplating having to kill Cocomon and talking about the fact that if this was Vmon, he wouldn't have the strength to go through with it. I was prepared to give Davis a fully comedic segment for this video, with his darkest moment being him shit-talking his sister, but no, here we are, we've got a legitimate moment here. Much like Mimi, Yoli isn't really known for having a lot of dark moments or scenes in Adventure. However, she does have a few episodes that highlight some of her worser traits. Being rude, being selfish, she definitely has some of that going on with her, and this is the best I can do for selecting her darkest moment in the series. The closest to a dark moment with her is from episode 18, Run Yoli Run. It is decided that the new Digidestined will pack their bags and spend a significant time in the digital world in an attempt to finally put an end to Ken as the Digimon Emperor. At first, Yoli is pretty nervous about spending who knows how long in the digital world until Ken is finally defeated. She accepts that this is something that has to be done, and she does seemingly approaches it with a positive attitude when she's with the group at the start of this adventure. However, once we're in the digital world, we see that Yoli has hyped herself up a bit too much. She's acting very overconfident and trying to somewhat be the leader. She's giving instructions to the rest of the team. She's going on off her own. She has this positive can-do but also militant attitude. And she's pushing herself too far, too quickly. She even climbs up a freaking spire, for crying out loud. Look at this shit. Girl thinks she's Spider-Woman. She decides to scout on ahead by herself, getting into an argument even with Hawkmon. When Dokugomon shows up, things go south pretty quickly. Yoli is an easy target, but Hawkmon gets in the way of the attack, resulting in Hawkmon getting badly injured. After the others join the fight and defeat the Digimon, Hawkmon needs some time to recover. So while the guys go on ahead, Yoli and Kari stay behind with Hawkmon. We end off on a positive note, with Yoli apologizing to Hawkmon, Kari reassuring her that everything will be okay, and yeah, that's pretty much it for Yoli. While Cody is another character who's not really known for having a lot of dark scenes or moments throughout the series, I was still able to point my finger at a specific episode, knowing that this would be what I would talk about for this video for Cody. Season 2, episode 16, 20,000 Digi-Leagues Under the Sea. The O2 gang ends up getting trapped under the sea, with Mega Seadramon constantly swimming around. It's a pretty scary scenario, to be honest. Remember, these guys are just kids, and poor Cody, he's the youngest as well. He's absolutely terrified of the situation that they're in. He expresses a lot of self-doubt that the group will be able to get out alive. When the gang do find a means of escape, only one person can leave. With Cody acting the way he was earlier, pretty much everyone agrees to let Cody be the one to escape. He refuses at first, but Kari gets her boys to go to work and forces Cody into the escape vehicle. Cody's able to return to the surface, and his main goal is to find Joe so that he and Ikakumon can help the others. He comes across his mum and his grandpa. He forces himself to lie to them, something he would never usually do, even after his grandpa states that lying is one of the worst things you could do. He's also forced to lie in order to get Joe to help, because Joe was in the middle of an exam. Not only does Ikakumon shows up to help, Joe and Cody arrive with Waymon from Adventure 1. So while things was looking a little grim for a little bit, overall, Joe is here to save the day, and it's all thanks to Cody. The main reason why the kids were here in the first place was because they were detecting a Digi-Egg, an armoured Digi-Egg. They try to convince Cody to come and get it, but he refuses. He doesn't want anything to do with the armoured Digi-Egg after what they've been through. He mentions what his grandpa said earlier, and Cody just hates the fact that he's lied multiple times today. But once again, good old reliable Joe is here. He reassures Cody that sometimes it is okay to lie, and he promises to have a conversation with Cody's grandpa to explain that no harm was done. So yeah, Cody not really being known for having a lot of dark scenes and moments, once again had to reach a little bit here for the sake of including him in this video, but I think I've made the right choice here. There's a lot of self-doubt, a lot of uncertainty and guilt Cody feels throughout this episode. So with all those negative emotions combined, I would say this is Cody's darkest moment in the series. Well gee, I wonder what Ken's darkest moment is in Digimon Adventure. It definitely must have something to do during the time where he became the Digimon Emperor, attempted to take over the digital world, enslaving and torturing Digimon, slapping dark rings and dark spirals onto them, forcing them to do whatever he says, whether that be attacking the other Digidestined, or even fighting each other just for his own entertainment, using his Digivice and the dark spires to prevent the other Digimon from being able to Digivolve, constantly mistreating his very own Digimon partner Wormmon, abandoning his family and dedicating his entire time to being the Digimon Emperor in the digital world, thinking he's above everyone else, being the best soccer player, nice friends you got there Davis, failing to realise that Digimon are living creatures and he's been torturing them this entire time. The list for Ken's darkest scenes and moments in Adventure 2 can just go on and on and on. But I think this is also what makes Ken one of the best characters in Digimon Adventure. After he stops being the Digimon Emperor, he works his arse off to redeem himself for everything that he did. So yeah, I could easily end the video here and just say Ken's entire time as the Digimon Emperor is his darkest moment, but just for fun, is it actually possible to narrow it down to one specific action, to one specific decision that he made as the Digimon Emperor that we can look at and say this is his definitive, most darkest, most evil thing he's ever done? Episodes 9, 10 and 11, The Emperor's New Home, The Captive Digimon, and Storm of Friendship. Ken has left home for good. He's dedicating the rest of his time to being in the digital world, creating more dark spires, and slowly but surely planning on taking over the entire digital world. He captures Greymon, slapping a dark ring on him with the intentions of using him to fight against the other Digidestined. His plan is to force Greymon to digivolve into Metal Greymon. So what happens when Ken forces Greymon to digivolve here? That's right, Skull Greymon is back. Just like in Season 1, Skull Greymon goes on a rampage, attacking any and everyone it sees. Skull Greymon quickly runs out of energy, de-digivolving back to Agumon. Ken retrieves Agumon, and this is where the episode ends. In the next episode, Ken is doing everything he can to try and control Greymon. Poor Greymon is forced to digivolve into Skull Greymon again, Ken having no control over him while he's trying to break free from the prison. Ken realizes that the Dark Ring isn't powerful enough to control an ultimate level Digimon. Skull Greymon once again runs out of energy, de-digivolves back to Agumon, and Ken starts going to work on improving his Dark Ring design. So yeah, this episode, Agumon pretty much spends it being tortured and experimented on. Wormmon sets Agumon free, and it's in this scene where Wormmon attempts to convince Ken to allow him to be used in battle. He tells Ken that he can digivolve too, and even without a dark ring attached to him, Wormmon is willing to fight alongside the Digimon Emperor. Ken completely laughs it off, belittling Wormmon, and when he notices Agumon is close by, he sets out to retrieve Agumon. A fight breaks out with the rest of the Digidestined. Ken attaches the Dark Spiral to Agumon. Once again, under his control, he is forced to digivolve, not into Skull Greymon, but into Metal Greymon. Metal Greymon goes on the attack, attacking Ty and Davis, as well as the rest of the Digimon. And the episode ends with Ken flying away with Metal Greymon. Finally, in our next episode, Ken uses Metal Greymon to once again attack the Digidestined while they're in the digital world looking for another armored Digi-Egg. During the fight, he's able to get his hands on Patamon, and he comes real close on attaching a Dark Spiral to Patamon as well. He really pushes the Digidestined to their limit. The older kids are already limited on what they can do to help, and the O2 kids are also pretty limited on what Digivolutions they can accomplish right now. Poor Agumon is tortured, experimented on, forced to fight his friends on multiple occasions. This is Ken at his worst. This is him at his darkest moment, in my opinion. Okie dokie, I think that is enough for this video. We've gone on long enough. We've gone over every main Digidestined from Digimon Adventure. That was, in my opinion, the darkest moment from every Digidestined in the original Adventure continuity. I definitely wouldn't mind doing something like this again, maybe doing a follow-up, looking at some other Digidestined from the Digimon Adventure series, or more likely, do this again, but with other Digimon continuities. Digimon Tamers and Data Squad comes to mind. As much as I love these characters, I am also a sucker for a hero, or just in general a good person, having a dark side. This video was really fun for me. I hope you guys had fun watching it, even if you don't completely agree with what moments I chose for each character. I'm sorry it took so long to get back to uploading a video for this channel. I upload videos on multiple YouTube accounts, and in the last couple of months I've been busy working 2 jobs. That's no longer the case anymore. I only have 1 job. I have a bit more free time on my hands, and I'm willing to dedicate some of that free time to making more content for this channel. So I guess all else I can say is goodbye, hope you enjoyed again, and until next time.